Hola, ¿cómo está? Hi. I just got in from work a little while ago. I've actually been sitting here for a minute, flipping through the Gospel of Philip, looking for a portion. And the only thing that is like striking me to have anything to say about it is like the most uncomfortable and weird portion that ever were. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. It's going to be really painful and really awkward. But first, yeah, it was a good night at work. Good money night. Good pace. The worst part, I think, it was really great all night, super easy. But like it only really got crazy there at the end. We had like 2 full rounds of seatings and 3 in some cases. And my last round of seating, I had like a 9 top show up at the same time as they triple set the rest of my section. So yes, that's right, folks. I got a large party of 9 people that sat down, and then the host's probably 3 more tables, all at once. My cohort took one of the tables, so I just had like 2 couples to get started. But of course, they had a lot of questions, and my 9 top were kind of drunk. So they kept asking about, like, this one guy, he kept on about, like, the olives he wanted in his martini. And look, okay, you're not at the fucking olive bar at Kroger, okay? It's just, you get olives, you get cocktail olives. We're not stuffing them with cheese. We're not, like, praying over them before we put them in the cocktail. You get an olive, that's it. Maybe multiple olives, but like everybody's out of control. So he starts asking us if we have black olives, Kalamata olives. And I'm like, no, we just have regular cocktail olives. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. But anyway, I get them all like, whipped into shape, and they are behaving after that. And everybody in my section starts behaving after that. I even had one woman stop me earlier in the night and like, okay, so there was a moment where I had these 2 tables that had been double set at the same time. I love that. And so that means that like everything, even if you try to spread them out from each other, it's all going to come at the same time because all the tickets get fired in groups and batches. So I'm like running around trying to get them all settled in and like tucked in with their meals. And they're both those tables that are like, oh, I want a drink and I'll have a drink and then I'll have a drink and then I'll have a drink. And it's like, everybody at the table, why don't you all order a drink while the person comes back, like to check on you? So they were running me around, and then one of the tables that was running me around actually said, excuse me, can you come over here? And I went over there. I was like, yes. And she was like, that table over there, I'm sure it's not yours, but I don't think they've been helped yet. And I'm like, no, it is my table. I see. I've just been taking care of you guys. And she goes, oh. I was like, yeah, I don't know how else to put this, toots, but I would take care of them, but y'all been running me to death and not, like, streamlining yourselves, and that's how it works, because I can't, as much as I'm trying to become omnipresent, I'm having a hard time bilocating. So then I had all the drunkies, but overall it was a fun night and all my people were nice, and those people were nice too. She was just met well, but I was just thinking, like, how funny is it that you're like, gosh, why are you taking forever to go take care of those people? And it's like, well, ma'am, I haven't been able to get away from your table. So yeah, just some funny anecdotes from work. Yeah, we were all insane, but we had pizza and ice cream, so much to be grateful for. Jenny's ice cream too, so it was good. All right, you guys, I think I'm just trying to avoid our portion. So what we're here doing tonight is we're here for our secret sermon. We're doing the secret teachings of Jesus, and I'm reading out of the Nag Hammadi scriptures. I have a playlist over on my channel called Secret Teachings of Jesus. And basically, let's see, so far this year, we went through the gospel or the book of James. James as in Jesus's brother, and that was a real good one. Lots of like character development in the book of James, interaction between Jesus and the disciples. Lots of fun there. Now we have moved on to the Gospel of Philip, and the Gospel of Philip has been these basically these paragraphs that are very cryptic and meant to be pontificated, chewed on, mulled over. There's mental yoga. They're seeds that you plant in your spirit, or I guess your spirit is already all knowing, but in your soul and your heart, and then the consciousness starts growing. So basically, yeah, I was interested in reading the Gnostic Gospels, and I didn't know when I'd have time to do it. So I made it a weekly segment on Saturday night, and I usually work Saturday night, so I come in late. So we do this late night, and there's actually a benefit of studying late. Midnight and these wee hours of the morning are very powerful. They're a liminal space, and so it's like the end of one thing and the beginning of another. And so that period in most magical systems is considered a very powerful time of day, like noon or midnight. The new moon, full moon, it's all these climactic points in the cycles. So midnight is a time and space and a portal where the veil is very thin, and we're just able to connect to the non-material and the intrinsic and the astral realms, more so than we could during the during the other hours of the day. Also, because we are tired and insane and exhausted and we don't feel like it, we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. And what we're doing is we're breaking the flesh and the spirit of Eucharist in the ritual of sacrifice. And so what that does is it releases all this extra energy and power and potential, and it allows us, because we've pushed ourselves out of our comfort zone for the sake of, growing and evolving and sharing, we are sort of being able to connect with the wisdom and the discernment and the understanding even more so than we would during other hours, or maybe if it was just coming easily to us or it was convenient. Also, the fact that we can read more information and attain more wisdom without it creating the kind of chaos that requires us to go through some kind of turbulent process to embody the material. When you learn a lesson, it's you have to live out the lesson to embody it. And it's when we are covered by what's called the surrounding light, it helps kind of filter that so it's not so harsh. The light isn't so harsh that it causes a lot of chaos, right? Because it's the energy is so powerful that we have to sort of filter it down to be able to run it through us. Or we'll just trip a fuse, trip a breaker in our little generator. Okay, so Unclean Spirits is our portion. This is cray. Okay, so I'm going to read the portion, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll go back and we'll read it line for line and unpack it. If we need to do it line for line. I think this one we can kind of talk about in general, large strokes. You'll know why that's funny in a minute. Okay. All right. So, unclean spirits. Unclean spirits are male and female in form. Males have sex with souls that are female in form, and females cavort promiscuously with souls that are male in form. Souls cannot escape them if the spirits seize them, unless they receive the male or female power of the bridegroom and the bride. These are received from the mirrored bridal chamber. When foolish females see a man by himself, they jump on him. fondle him, and pollute him. Likewise, when foolish males see a beautiful woman by herself, they seduce and violate her in order to pollute her. But when they see a husband and wife together, the females cannot make advances on the male, and the males cannot make advances on the women. So also, if the image and the angel are joined, none can dare to make advances on the male or the female. Ooh, we have a footnote. What does a footnote say? This meditation suggests that the state of salvific androgyny, the union of female image and male angel, protects against the unclean spirits. Okay. So basically this paragraph is talking about incubuses and succubuses. Basically, an incubus is a male demon that rapes human women to suck their energy. And they feed off of like their energy. A succubus is a female demon that has sex with a man that like feeds off of his energy. This is also, I think, what people are experiencing when they think that they've been ghost raped. I know. Laugh it out, like gasp, choke on whatever you're drinking. But yes, right now we are talking about ghost rape and demon rape, okay? And it's a thing. It's actually more common than you think. So I noticed that one time, like, I don't really like reality shows. I don't really watch a lot of like that junk food television. But there's like one sensational reality show that I like because I like reenactment shows because they're so cheesy and ridiculous. And so I have gotten to work on one once where there was like reenactments and I had to help like stage things, and that was really fun. It was called Ghost Inside My Child was the show. It was about like kids who were like had past lives or whatever. So anyway, this particular show that I was watching, I got kind of hooked on it. It was called Paranormal Survivor. So it was one of those ghost shows, but it was sort of like unsolved mysteries, but like for ghosts and like people who were like being like harassed by their poltergeists. And I was so into this show, and it was like a reenactment with it, and it was like the common theme was like ghost rape. It was like on and on and on. It would like come up, and at the time I like was dating this dude who we lived together and watched this show sometimes, and he just would laugh. He'd be like, "Ghost rape? What are these people with the ghost rape?" And I'm like, actually, it's quite common. And so, yeah, so. There's actually even a small book that I found about it in a cosmic shop one time, because I have to be honest, you guys, like I've had the sleep paralysis, like ghost rape, the demon rape. Like it used to happen to me like repeatedly, ironically, until I started dabbling in magic and like mysticism and things that people said were like witchcraft. It was like, well, that's when the demons stopped raping me. So like, whatever, say what you will, but you know, like my methods are working here. Come talk to me when you are trying to like get rid of the demons from raping you. And then we can talk about it then, but otherwise don't judge. So yes, okay, so unclean spirits are male and female in form. Males have sex with souls that are female in form, and females cavort promiscuously with souls that are male in form. So have you guys ever had like sleep paralysis where you couldn't move and you felt like something was like holding you down and having sex with you? Or have you ever had a sex dream and then like woke up and just felt like so tired, or like you woke up and you felt completely drained of energy, like you slept, but like you just wake up feeling drained? These are symptoms of an incubus or a succubus that like kind of comes after you and like siphons your energy while you're sleeping. One of the things that the smaller book that I found recently mentioned about it was that he had learned and like compared notes with others, but like his specific incubus or succubus, like he would have like a weird image of them before he woke up, like a weird cartoon or something, and it was like always like this certain face or like figure or whatever that would like sort of leave their little signature behind. So this happens, and it's not that uncommon. I made like this like kind of facetious comment once at work about this dude who's kind of a muggle. He's kind of like, or he doesn't work there anymore, but he was very like, he was a normie. He was not into entertaining any of these like crazy convoluted conversations. And so I made a joke, and I was like, haha, looks like so-and-so's never been raped by demons. And I was like laughing. And this guy next to me, who's a kindred spirit, he was like, oh yeah, I know about that. And I was like, what? And he was like, oh yeah, it's very common. And he was like, oh, I've had it. I've totally had that. So it's like, it's out there. So if you have also had like demon or ghost rape, like you're not alone. And you don't have to be scared anymore. You don't have to be afraid anymore, because actually there's just some really basic things you can start doing that will help just protect your energy while you're sleeping. But the thing is, while you're sleeping, your soul does sort of like leave your body and go like do this purification process and like this daily judgment day. And so you're kind of left unprotected. So I have found that like I have a little like box on my nightstand that I put like kosher salt in that sits there. I have amethysts on my nightstand and pyrite, and then I have a little piece of like, maybe I have pyrite under my pillow. I definitely have like moonstone, black moonstone, smoky quartz, and some of those protective stones under my pillows and around my bed, nightstand, and bedroom and stuff. Ocean jasper, picture jasper, some of those things that will protect you while you sleep. I also sage my bedroom regularly. I sage over my bed and under my bed, and especially around my windows and the doorways and the mirrors. That's a big thing, because energy is just like bouncing off of your mirrors. And they say that mirrors can also be like kind of portals. So definitely use the smoke to like clean the energy around your mirrors and all the corners. But it's good to keep your room clean. Dark energy gathers in like clutter and like messiness. So it's good to keep your room super clean and your sheets clean, and you go to bed clean with a clean body. They also suggest not to sleep naked. But I know that's not, you can't always avoid that. Sometimes you just end up that way. But it is suggested that, I don't know, I guess the demons can't get through the fabric, but it is suggested by Orthodox practices. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's any other thing that I've used. I mean, I guess people like, I've never used dream catchers, but they're supposed to catch nightmares. I don't know if they help with actual like exorcism or like repelling anything like entity wise. Let's see, what else do I use? Prayers before bed. I scan Hebrew and I say the Shema and I say the Anabachoach, and you can look those up. There's actually YouTube videos of where you can learn the prayers or whatever. But I like to keep an album of like photos of like the Hebrew prayers and everything on my phone, so I can just like look through the album and scan them before bed. And that helps. And then I use the 72 names of God chart, and I scan the 72 names of God, or at least some of them before bed. I scan the chart and then I go into some of the specific ones before bed, but they don't have really anything to do with evil. It's just different things. And prayers, clean room, clean body. generally keep on like your game about keeping your energy clean, keeping your thoughts clean, keeping yourself free of like fear and anxiety. You know, it's like dark spirits, dark energy feeds on dark energy. That's how a poltergeist forms in your house. It's like it just starts with like just feeding and like gathering like a snowball effect of like darkness and dark energy that becomes like thought forms that get, you know, more and more power behind them, honestly. And then it starts causing chaos in the house. All right, so let's go back to this portion. Maybe other things that will remind me of how I have gotten rid of the demons in my life. I mean, regular salt baths, just keeping like my energy field clean, but also like putting angels around myself every morning and saying prayers when I wake up in the morning. I like to keep in prayer throughout the day, but like definitely like doing those prayers before bed. Yeah. Okay. Unclean spirits are male and female in form. Males have sex with souls that are female in form, and females cavort promiscuously with souls that are male in form. Souls cannot escape them if the spirits seize them, unless they receive the male or female power of the bridegroom and the bride. So like souls cannot escape them if they are seized. And I think that that's what they're talking about with like the sleep paralysis. It's like, I mean, once you're in it, I don't know what to do to stop the situation. I mean, you know, you try to wake yourself up from sleep paralysis, but it's like you can't really, I don't know. I mean, you're not going to die. You're not going to be impregnated with like the spawn of Satan. So it's just like, just try to get through it, and to try not to torture yourself over it. I mean, there were years where like I like couldn't sleep because I was like, you know, afraid I'd be ghost raped. But honestly, like it will stop. Like if you set the intention. Oh, also one of the things that in that other book that they mentioned was that you can actually tell them no or like stop them if you can become aware of it enough, like in a dream state, to be like no. But it is difficult because sometimes you can't speak, you're like bound and you can't move and you can't talk. But sometimes they're sneaky and they do it through a sex dream because they get more energy, or like they get a different quality of energy if you're actually enjoying the sex and you have like an orgasm in the dream. So then they'll try to present to you in a very like enticing way in the dream. So if you have the presence of mind within your dream state and somebody is like seeming suspicious, they're like, let's do it in this dream. Be like, no, you're a demon. I won't do it. Oh, true love waits. But yeah, so that is helpful. I think you can bind them that way, but sometimes it's just like, been seized. You've been iced. Let's see. Souls cannot escape them once they've been seized, unless they receive the male or female power of the bridegroom and the bride. And so I think that what this has to do with is like because it's funny, we get different levels of our soul at different stages of our life. So like we get upgrades. When we turn 13, when we're like technically an adult, like bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, that is when we get, I can't remember which level each level of the soul is called. Sorry. All I can think of is nefesh right now, and I don't think that's the right word. Don't listen to me. But you get an up-leveled piece of your soul because you're more mature when you're 13, and I think that's when the incidences started for me, and they went through my 20s. And it was during my 20s, it was probably in my early 30s where I got like super spiritual and like mystical and everything, and I started like putting the systems, like I went from just having been raised religious and a spiritual person who was religious, but like my spiritual depth and like true commitment and devotion didn't even like kick off until later 20s, early 30s, because then I was like starting to get into like mysticism and, you know, magical systems and Kabbalah and stuff like that. And it was through all of those things that I got deeper into spirituality, deeper into like Christ consciousness, deeper into all of those things, and started figuring out how to protect my energy and like how to like offload a lot of my negativity and do energy cleansing and energy upgrades and things like that. So during my awakening, I would say, and like during the earlier stages of like my awakening in consciousness and my my raising my consciousness and my vibration, I would say that's when the incidences started to stop or taper off, and they got less and less until it just never really, I can't even remember the last time I had sleep paralysis or I was ghost raped. So I'm so cavalier about this because it's just like, it's so bizarre that you're just like, what? And it's like almost like a dream, but like it's not. It's worse than it. It's like one of those really realistic dreams that like really leaves you kind of freaked out, but you're like, was it real? Like it's just like, it was so bizarre. But yeah, so that stopped. Yeah, around the time I was like, you know, just like smudging regularly and putting like protective stones in my, you know, my bed and stuff like that. Sleeping with them under my pillow and sleeping with salt next to the bed. I think that's a big one. I think you can put salt under the bed. I just keep it in a box next to my bed in a little like thing, in a little cute like porcelain thingy. But I think that will help. But I also think that the awakening of consciousness, because you go from like that adolescent soul that would have opened you up to that kind of thing, like because you're technically like fertile at that point to be sexually active. So it's like, that's when it started, but then it quit when like I became more consciousness, my awakening started happening. And so I think that it's about like receiving that next level of the soul, which you do receive another level of the soul once you get into your 20s or 30s. It's like at a certain point when you're like more mature and it's like you're totally like responsible for yourself, but then you're also responsible for like the cocoon like healing that you have to be doing and all of those things. So that has to do with it. And so I think that when you take on that yoke and you're like a conscious like participant in that, then the divine masculine and feminine energies within you start to like come into union. And I think that when they start doing that, I think that you're like almost like in a protected state where like the demons like don't harm you anymore. That also applies to literal husbands and wives. I think it's like also suggested that like husbands and wives have sex on Shabbat. Not only is it like required, like you're like, you have to have sex with your partner, like religiously, like as a religious mitzvah, you need to like please your partner at least once a week. But also there's something about that because you have the surrounding light around you during Shabbat that you are protected from any onlookers, like unclean spirits that would be siphoning your energy or creating chaos for you. And I mean, that's what they essentially are doing. They're siphoning the energy out of your aura. Like energy vampires. Okay. I mean, like, I can't believe we're having this episode. I'm like, ugh. About outing yourself. Good thing I'm not usually embarrassed or anything. Okay, so the powers of the bridegroom and the bride. Yeah, so as a female, as a person who identifies as female, I think I do have like a female soul in a female body. And so for me, it's like when I'm more in balance with my divine masculine energy. And I think that it's also important to say that divine masculine and feminine energy has nothing to do with gender. It's more like about passive and active energy. Think about it more as like almost like electrical currents. But like masculine energy is about being active. It's about sharing. It's about giving. It's about taking charge, taking the lead, taking initiative, being logical, being reasonable. Whereas the divine feminine energy is like soft. It's passive. It's receptive. It's, you know, more understanding. It's intuitive beyond reason. Like there, you can receive intuition, you can receive messages, you can receive inspiration. And whereas the masculine is more of an active. So when those like energies are balanced, it means that you can sort of like, you're comfortable with your emotional realm, you have it in balance, you're comfortable with expressing your feelings, but you're not controlled by them. You are like, you have reason and logic and wisdom and discernment. You can receive intuition and actually like take action on it and take decisive action. It's like you become a very well balanced person, but you become awakened and you become elevated and you become more aligned with your higher self. And that really starts to protect you from any dark energies, because as your vibration raises, you will repel anything that is not in affinity with that vibration. And so the higher your vibration becomes, and I should mention that that's what I was trying to say, is that the process that I went through over a course of, you know, years is like raising my vibration so that I'm not mired in misery or chaos or like bad moods all the time, or like, oh, I'm running late. You know, those things that just like snowball. It's like bad moods, and then you're depressed, and then it's like everything in your life starts falling apart and running late and chaos, and like, oh, I broke this, I left this there, I have to order a new one of this. You know, and then you start getting like maybe injured or sick, or like, you know, in a car accident or something, and just like it just kind of snowballs. That is like when your vibration is just getting lower and lower and lower, and you're starting to like have all this chaos and this dark energy around you that's like attracting all of these negative experiences. Whereas if you can start cultivating the garden within and learning how to have self-discipline and learn how to be mindful of your thoughts and choose your thoughts and choose your thoughts well, choose your feelings, pay attention to them and make adjustments in your life accordingly, but don't let your feelings rule you. Let them, you know, give you information, but like don't be controlled by it either way. You know, don't let your thoughts overtake you or overwhelm you or control you. So it's about having that like that balance, correcting, you know, atoning for, not in a shameful or guilty way, but just in a way that like course corrects, you know? And so it's like when you start aligning yourself with like your higher version of yourself and you start raising your vibration, like dark things can't come near you because they won't have, like, they'll be repelled. You'll be in dissonance, right? So that is another way to protect yourself. Okay. These are received from the mirrored bridal chamber. And I think what that is that like, so to a female soul, I don't want to get into that because it's a lot of technicality that has to do with like looking at the tree of life as if it were the microcosm, but then as the macrocosm, or no, looking at it as the macrocosm, but then when it's the microcosm, it's sort of like the human person steps into it, but it's like reversed for a female and a male. So I think that's what it's talking about. I think it's just another like really complicated way, a long way around saying that it's like the masculine like and the feminine coming into like balance together. Okay. And then when foolish females see a man by himself, they jump on him, fondle him, and pollute him. Likewise, when foolish males see a beautiful woman by herself, they seduce and violate her in order to pollute her. But when they see a husband and wife together, the females cannot make advances on the man, and the males cannot make advances on the woman. So also, if the image and the angel are joined, none can dare to make advances on the male or the female. Okay, so I think that, like, so married couples may be safe, like, literally, like, in the physical. I can't remember a time when I was in bed next to someone that I got the paralysis. But also I've never been married, not legally. So that might help if there's actual someone present, or like you're legally married to someone and they can't interfere with that. Like they can't cross that line. But also when it says, so also if the image and the angel are joined, I think that's talking about the individual and the higher self. And so I think because it refers to the person as the image, because the flesh is an illusion. And so I think they're talking about like the projected person in the holograph. And the angel, when the angel are joined, so like the higher self and the image of the self, like we're basically a mere reflection, like almost a faded reflection of the true higher self, right? We're just like a little carbon copy here. Oh, we're a carbon copy. So yeah, so when the image and the angel are joined, the angel being our higher self, right? Yeah, and also before we go, I think it should be noted that angels and demons and anything like entity-wise, they don't really have a physical form. It's just if they appear to you, they're only appearing in a way that you can understand them. They're only taking the shape that you need them to, if that makes sense. If you can understand that angels and demons are energies or forces of energy with sort of a consciousness attached to them, then there's no need to see them because you already understand the truth of what they are. Usually if people are like, I saw an angel and it had wings and all that stuff, it's just that that energy kind of like allowed that person to have this sort of like vision of that, because that's how they would understand what they were seeing. Otherwise it may have gone missed, if that makes sense. All right, you guys. Well, I think we've talked enough. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on this video, if you've had any of these experiences. No need to get like trolly or anything. I think we've weeded out all the trolls, you guys. Like earlier in the summer, there was like a sudden surge where I was like being exposed to like a larger audience for a minute, and I was getting like hundreds of views on the video, which is still not very much in YouTube world, but it was a lot for us. And there were people like the trolls came out of the woodwork, and I would just like either ignore them or just say something sassy and like not be nice about it. Like some spiritual teachers would just try to be, I don't know, tasteful, and I was not. And so they disappeared. So you probably won't like this channel, just go away. So yeah, we don't have those anymore. So I don't know. You can troll if you want. I don't give a fuck. Bring it. But yeah, I'm like, now I've grown up and I've become like Keanu Reeves from that movie Constantine. So I'm like demonologist, defense against the dark arts. So I'm sleeping good these days, just in case you're wondering. All right, y'all. Well, I'm wrapping it up. I'm going to take a hot shower and I'm going to heat up some leftovers. And this has been the weirdest episode I've ever done. And I can't believe that this is going to be in public because we're going to know what we're talking about. Dear God. Dear God, help us. Ciao.